Hi, Mark with Acme Stove here again. I just want to do a quick little video about flame appearance for gas fireplaces. We tend to get a lot of questions from customers about how their flame should look. Sometimes they don't think it looks right. Sometimes even we go out and do a service on a fireplace and we find an issue and we correct that issue, and all of a sudden the flame looks a little bit different and they think it's not correct. So I just wanted to take you along, show you a few different units, go over a couple different types of units, and show you what the flame should look like with those. Now, before we go take a look at the units, I do want to say that the way a flame should look in a fireplace, in a gas fireplace, really depends on the type of fireplace that it is. There's a few different types. The type is going to depend on really how that fireplace manages air coming into the fireplace for combustion and the exhaust leaving the fireplace for combustion. And as we go to each different fireplace, I'll explain the different type, how it works, and how that flame should look. All right, now this here is a direct vent fireplace. Now what a direct vent fireplace does is it usually will have a sealed piece of glass so that it seals the combustion off from the structure. This piece of glass will have a gasket around the edge, and it does not interact with your air in your structure at all. What it will do is it will take intake air from outside via a dedicated intake duct. It will go through the combustion, and then it will send the exhaust out through another a separate dedicated exhaust duct. Now the way that these flames should look is usually pretty yellow, maybe with a little bit of orange, and you may see a little bit of blue at the base. These will usually not have very much adjustment at all. That media, the logs or stones or whatever you have, they are designed to be put into very specific positions. There are holes that are drilled into the burner ports that will create a very specific flame pattern, and they do not have a whole lot of adjustment. There might be some minor adjustment you can do during setup with your glowing ember placement or something like that, but generally there's not a whole lot of adjustment. But the flame should look pretty yellow, maybe a little bit of orange. All right, here we have a vented log set. This is another very, very common type of appliance. These are decorative in nature. They are designed to be pretty much exclusively decorative. They are not designed to heat your room or much less your house. And these will have a little bit more you can do to them than your direct vent fireplace. This is just a burner with some sand and embers in it and some logs placed on top, and these go into an existing masonry fireplace or prefab box. And with these, the main difference between this and a direct vent is these are not trying to be super efficient. So your flames will be a lot more yellow. They can have a little bit more orange in them, and they can actually come into direct contact with the media that's in there, the logs or stones or cannonballs or whatever you have. And it is not unusual, it's actually considered completely normal for some soot to form on these logs due to the flame being in direct contact with them. Now down there at the base, right here, you have sand or vermiculite, depending on your fuel type, with some glowing embers that's placed on top. Once you are in the setup phase of this, you can kind of play around with those embers, play around with the sand, try to get the flame to do different things or move around to different places. But it is important to note that these logs do have specific positions that they should be in. You can't just kind of pile the logs all on top of it and just have this flame rolling out from under the logs. You can damage things like your gas valve that's over here. You can damage your burner. You can damage the logs themselves. So there's a little bit more play with this in the burner, but there's not really any play in the logs. And this is a pretty good example of what your vented log set should typically look like. All right, another type of unit that is a little less common than your direct vent or your vented log set is going to be what's called a vent-free appliance. And this is a vent-free log set in particular, but you can have vent-free fireplaces. These are designed to draw air from your house into the fire and then send the exhaust directly back out into your house. These do not have vents, as the name would apply. Vent-free, they can also be known as unvented units or ventless fireplaces, but they do not have any way to convey the exhaust gases to the outside, and they're designed to run very, very efficiently because of this. So if you notice a difference between this and the vented log set, there's a lot more blue, especially down on the burner on the bottom, a lot more blue flame. You do have the bottom half of the upper flames are blue and just the top halves are yellow. You notice that the flames are not in contact with any of the logs. They are not supposed to be in contact with the logs. And these are just designed to run very efficiently, so there's very little contact with anything at all. If there's any contact, there is pretty much zero adjustment that you can make to these. You are not supposed to adjust any air controls. Those are locked. The embers on them is weighed to a specific amount. The logs have a very precise position they're supposed to be in, and there is almost zero adjustment that you can make to change the way that this flame looks. So this is an example of what a vent-free flame should look like. All right, one last fireplace type I wanted to go over is the outdoor fireplace. Now, some outdoor fireplaces will have vents on them, some won't. This particular unit does not have any vent on it. It kind of just depends on what the manufacturer wanted to do, what they wanted to test for. But this one in particular, if it does not have any vent at all, it's going to draw air in directly through the open front, and then it will send the exhaust right back out through that open front. If it does have a vent, it's usually just going to be for exhaust. But these are kind of very similar to the direct vent in that there are specific positions that the logs are supposed to be in. There are specific holes that the flame comes up through, so there's a very specific burner pattern. You do have small adjustments similar to a direct vent that you can make during setup with placement of some of the media in there, just very minor adjustments to tweak the flame a little bit. But this is going to be a lot more yellow of a flame. You may see some orange in these flames, and this is going to be a good representation of what your typical outdoor fireplace is going to look like. Not a lot of flame contact with the media, maybe a little bit. Mostly yellow and orange flames, maybe a little bit of blue vary at the base, and just very minor adjustments. All right, well, I hope that helps, seeing some of these different types of fireplaces and what their flames should look like. If you are a homeowner, as a final note, I'll say that I do not recommend you try to make any sort of adjustments or manipulate your flames in any way. If you think there is a problem with your fireplace, or you think the flame doesn't look good or doesn't look right, then I strongly suggest you contact your local hearth shop and have a trained hearth technician come out and take a look. If there are any adjustments to be made, they should know how to make those. Remember, these fireplaces are engineered to operate in a very specific way, and there are very specific adjustments that you can make with some of these units, but some of them will have no adjustments you can make at all. So, as always, if you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to leave them below. Consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. Take care and stay warm.